I'm going to give it to Strelok. He's probably prepared for any sort of 2 racks. He's seen the games beforehand, so he knows exactly what's going on. I'm going to give it to Strelok, 2-0-2-1, either way.
Yeah, and you know, we're gonna go with. I'm gonna go with Strelok as well, just because again, knowing that kind of lag, and it's so key for TVT. 2-second delay when you have to, when it comes down to like sieging in the right time and getting your Marines in certain positions, or even just simply like unloading your drop at the right time if you're flying into like a Viking or a turret, can make all the difference. So I have to pick Strelok, but I think if they were on even footing, I would have to give it to Rain.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that obviously Battle.net has these problems. I'm actually going to do this, Frodan. I'm actually going to bring it to Battle.net problems, because back in StarCraft 1 we had this wonderful thing called IC Cup or Chaos Launcher, where it didn't matter where you were from, you still had like 100 ping unless you were from like Ukraine or something.
Because you could play on any server. You had global play.
Yeah, it was
StarCraft II.
Awesome, man. And the lag was minimal. I mean, it was there still, but it was minimal. It was as good, I think, as StarCraft 2 if you're playing on your respective servers. So it's unfortunate that we have this, you know, somewhere along the knot line. Battle.net 2.0.
Yeah, I feel you. It's okay though, because
just
it's gonna change. It's gonna change.
Venting my frustrations, man.
It's gonna change for Heart of the Swarm though.
Say it isn't so.
It's great. I'm looking forward to it.
Actually, say it is so. Sorry. Let's talk about the builds real quick. Why don't you break it down? I know you've been playing a lot of Terran. I see you. I'll watch you.
You see me fail.
Yeah, you'll get there.
Well, we see that Strelok is going for just regular opening, but he has delayed any kind of usage of his gas pretty significantly. Rain already has his factory almost completed. The fact that his factory is this late does give Rain a lot more flexible options, just in terms of how he wants to organize his build. He is going for a reactor immediately, though.
Yes.
And
could be Reactor Hellions. Yeah. This could also just be Marine Hellion Expand. Normally, if you want to go Marine Hellion Starport, you would actually not get this reactor after 3 Marines, or after 1 Marine rather. Excuse me. But somehow did he? How did he fit? Oh, he went. I'm sorry. He went reactor first. That's why.
Yeah.
He did
You're
go
absolutely.
reactor.
And then it just gives Rain the ability to do that Marine Hellion drop that can be really devastating early on. As you can see, Rain is still on 1 gas, a very clear indication he wants to just get out initial pressure and then be able to just maybe expand behind it, or depending on what his opponents do, react. And again, that's just a way to get his mobility up early on. Strelok going to opt for a more standard opening, you know, reactor on his barracks, tech lab for his factory, or it could be straight up for the starport, depends on how he wants to bend it. But nonetheless, Strelok has 2 gases. It gives him that much more versatility in how he wants to execute the usage of his gas.
Yes, but it does put him behind in terms of economy. You can see the income tab, 21 to 22, but the mineral count for Rain is on average going to be slightly higher. And also, Marine Hellion actually hits way before Banshee hits.
Yeah.
It'll be rather difficult actually to stop something like this. Actually, this can be considered to an extent a build order win. But look at that. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not Banshee.
No, it's Marine Tank with just a Viking that cover grounds. And Strelok knows exactly what he's up to. Just because he has... I mean, he just has his Marines in position all ready to go. Now, guys, keep in mind, this series is from replay. It's not live, as Rain and Strelok do have to play at very odd hours for us, if that was the case. Nonetheless, we see immediately that first medevac picking up the Marines. No Hellions being picked off. Might use the Hellions to try to zone off the Marines. But the Viking's going to throw a weird wrench into things. Yeah. Rain immediately picking up and leaving. No, he can't stay there very long.
Yeah, Rain does not want to do that. Now, it does offer some sort of, you know, a threat. Right now, Strelok is thinking to himself, well, I have to defend always against this Marine medevac drop. So what Rain could potentially do is just exactly what he's doing right here. He can actually expand. He can go for a command center and just play this macro if he wants to, knowing that his opponent has to leave some amount of units back at his base. Look at this, 4 Marines and a single Viking. And then just overpower if ever his opponent wants to actually push out.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that little pressure will stay in the back of his mind for a long time. But We see, ooh, the Hellions are running by to try to see if they can poke at the natural.
Oh, wow, lined up.
Oh, it was a perfect streamline as those Marines were in very big danger of losing. But you see another fight also down in the center. Strelok was caught out of position, but of course that was because Rain had the control of the watchtower. And so Strelok, knowing where his opponent's army is kind of caught between passes. But I still think Strelok's not in the worst, that bad of a position, just because, you know, he has siege mode and he's kept a siege tank count, so he just has to really preserve his Marine count. I think he can have a really strong timing if he chooses to push.
Oh, he does have a strong timing, especially with those Vikings. The Vikings proved to be such a valuable asset to his army, because that air control actually allows his siege tanks to really threaten a lot of different positions. Think, with that combination, he can't just stay defensive, or Rain can't just stay defensive. He has to defend this position over here and this position over here. How can you do both of those at the same time? Well, you need to take center control. That's very hard when you have a much smaller army.
Yeah, and Strelok now has officially forced Rain to relinquish his position in the center of the map, and Strelok now can move over to the southern half. Rain is going to try to double back and
Correct.
go for the north.
That's correct.
And so going for the counterattack, Andre, you like this play a lot.
Yeah, I think going back to defend is just going to give up so much position.
Oh, wow.
This, he can at least retreat and force his opponent's units back, or he can go for the base race, potentially. But no, he's going to even do better than that. Looks like he's going to pick off a couple of siege tanks and a ton of Marines. Now, this trade actually helps out Rain so much because he started his command center much earlier. Even though he loses all these siege tanks, and the Marines, he will be ahead in economy. That will be able to stabilize things, even though he had, in my opinion, the kind of build order loss, even though I was saying that he has movement advantages. I mean, Strelok wasn't taking the bait. He wasn't keeping units behind, so he was able to accurately put all of his units in the best position possible.
Look at this. Strelok has Cloak Banshees as his follow-up. Now, this is something we don't normally see. We usually see standard macro into Marine tank, or if you wanted to go for mech or whatever you were trying to do, you would be in full production. But Strelok is getting a Cloaked Banshee. We haven't really seen this too often, Andre.
It's mind games.
Yeah,
just playing
really
against the metagame. A lot of people would say you would never go Cloak Banshees in this position. Just because Cloak Banshees doesn't really get you a lot. A lot of times engineering base would already be up. Maybe even turrets would be placed, Viking counts could be high. So it is kind of risky to go this Banshee, and I think Strelok will be paying the price of it.
Scan forced, and the Viking tries to get in position, and
He will get
Strelok
it.
runs his Banshee straight into the Viking. A lot of units were kind of located into the main base, and as a result, Strelok was thinking about parking right outside of his natural, but Rain looks in a very solid position. So overall, you think Rain, just like you said, has a stronger economy, and does have a really good SCV count compared to his opponents. So overall, Rain looks pretty solid, which is a good sign that Rain, maybe lag issues aren't bothering him that much.
Correct. And I do want to mention that real quickly, that one Banshee, that one Cloak Banshee is actually the cost of 2 siege tanks, if you think of it that way. So his siege tank production has been staggered quite severely. Actually, it's 3 Banshees. So that's actually a total of, what is that, 5? Is that 5 almost siege tanks? No, 4 siege tanks, excuse me. So 4 siege tanks, still quite extreme, still quite tough to deal with, and it gives Rain the ability to actually macro up and have very equal amounts of siege tanks. And this is a map of positioning. If you can get the center of the map, if you can get the Zelnaga Tower, you're able to actually attack and potentially get your 3rd base as well. That's the safest way to do it, and that's what both these players are aiming for.
We can see that Stim and +1, both players have that timing pretty much aligned, but again, Strelok did dedicate even more time and resources into Cloaked Banshees, which doesn't necessarily net him that much game.
Throw in. Banshee going directly into a turret. And it dies. Wow,
that's
big mistake.
That is a lot, because again, I mean, if Strelok had the extra gas, he could start upgrades a little bit earlier, and or even just pump out a little bit more units with production, maybe squeeze out something else, a couple more units as well. But as a result, Strelok just has to play again from this far behind. Now, TVT is a matchup where, let me tell you, if you make a mistake, you can easily let your opponent way back into the game just by walking to a few siege tanks.
And not only that, Dual Sight is a map where you get punished so hard for being out of position. And here we go. Perfect example. 3 medevacs. This is a pseudo doom drop. And look, there is nothing back here stopping this. So what he's going to do is try to ferry around units into the main while also trying to look like he's pressuring that top. If he can do that, oh, the Banshee! But if he can do that, then obviously he's going to be in a fantastic position such that Strelok doesn't have any units ready for this defense. It's going to empower this drop so much. Goodbye main, goodbye all these siege tanks.
Oh, wow.
You are dead.
This is a, oh my god, and the supply depots act as a buffer range, so it's really hard for Strelok to even approach those siege tanks. And all of a sudden, those supply depots are going to be a huge point of damage as well, just because Strelok's going to be so far deep in the red. He's going to have to rebuild all of these things. A fantastic drop indeed, and you can see Rain also attacking at the natural. As you use a lot of siege tanks are just whittling down the numbers, preventing Strelok from being able to run up the ramp. Rain able to take down the command center. Fantastic sniping, even the Banshee to boot. And this is just way too much damage. Strelok can't really do anything. GG gets called out. And Rain, showing lots of life, takes game number 1 on dual site.
Beautiful. Just beautiful play. And that's the problem with dual site. I think the Banshee switch was unnecessary. He was in a comfortable position, even though I thought Rain was ahead. But you really want to be forcing the issue with the siege tanks as much as possible. Get as much relevancy on the map as possible so that you can actually defend against those type of things, those movement games. Dual site is a map where you really have to cover the center if you want to defend your 2 bases. 2 bases, that's it. Obviously, he wasn't able to do that, and he lost the game pretty decisively. Yeah, and in the end, Strelok had some pretty good ideas, but Rain was the one who played really strong overall and takes game number 1 win, especially with that drop positioning. Game number 1 goes to Epson. Oh, sorry. Game number 1 is brought to you by Epson. Unless Epson was the one that sponsored Rain. But Epson is the number 1 projector brand worldwide. Check them out at Epson.com. And while you're checking them out, we'll take a quick commercial break. So when we come back, game number 2 between Strelok and Rain when we return.